Hi, I'm Jonathan Tessier, and we're here actually in our Lindsay store filming another episode of Wellness Wisdom with Rebecca. How you doing, Rebecca?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and today we're actually talking about coffee and tea and caffeine and all that sort of good stuff because we all need to energize ourselves and feel more awake than we actually are. So let's get into it. Like, what can you tell me about caffeine?
Yeah, so caffeine in general, it kind of depends how it's consumed, and we'll get a little bit into like coffee versus tea versus matcha. But caffeine actually, I think it can be demonized a little bit. We can become a bit afraid of these things, especially because a lot of us struggle to use them in moderation. So then, you get a little bit of, well, that's really bad for you, or, get a couple teams going, I guess is what I'm saying. So you'll find that I'm very clearly on team pro caffeine, pro coffee especially. But yeah, there's actually quite a lot of benefits to caffeine. So everything from, boosting cognitive performance, performance before like a workout or a sport event, mood enhancement. So lots of good benefits to caffeine, and yeah, lots of different ways to consume it too. So are you a coffee drinker?
I am not a coffee drinker, actually. I just never liked the taste, but I do enjoy drinking caffeine on other ways. I know chocolate also has caffeine, so there's other ways to get caffeine in your body other than coffee.
Absolutely. So lots of different ways to go about that. And we've got tons of different options and lots of different options for non-caffeine drinkers, which maybe would become another video, but yeah. So I'll just share one of the coolest things that I came across. If you really want to nerd out on kind of some of the research behind coffee, Dr. Rhonda Patrick of Found My Fitness, she's a scientist in the States, is really has this excellent episode of her podcast where she really nerds out and dives into the research on its coffee specifically. But one of the coolest things that I learned while I was doing my research for this was just how much it can impact longevity, actually, which is really cool. A lot of us kind of are focused on that right now, and just how much it can improve like cognitive performance, all that kind of thing. So what's something we keep talking about in every episode? I'm testing you again.
Okay, antioxidants we talk about almost every time. So
yeah, awesome. Yeah, so that's where a lot of the major benefits of coffee specifically, so we'll start there, come from, is the antioxidants in it. So really rich in polyphenols, probably one of the most consumed sources of antioxidants in kind of the standard American diet, which is great, probably helps us quite a bit. So these antioxidants are where you get a lot of the benefits from your coffee. So that enhanced cognitive performance, enhanced mood. So actually coffee increases your serotonin and your dopamine. So we love that. Lots of enhanced mood benefits there. The cognitive performance, like I said, I don't know if do you find you get a little bit jittery when you're having too much caffeine?
Yes.
Yeah, me too. And that's something that I really have to kind of struggle to keep my coffee habit in moderation. But L-theanine is a compound that can really be helpful. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into green tea. It's a supplement that we sell. We've got it in chewable form and in capsule form. You can actually open the capsule and add it into your coffee if you so choose to do that. So I just went and actually grabbed some L-theanine. Like I said, we've got it in a chewable form and in a capsule form, but that really can balance out that caffeine jitteriness and give you kind of a sense of like focus and clarity. So I know, like as an analogy, kind of caffeine can send you a little bit up to the clouds a little bit. It just kind of this brings you back down and gives you that kind of clarity, like I'm saying. So lots of different options for that. And like I said, you can chew it or you can open the capsule and dump it right in your coffee. It does have a mild taste that shouldn't interfere with your coffee.
So there are a lot of benefits to coffee, but there's also some things that aren't so great about it. Is there anything else you want to caution people about? Or?
Yeah, like they say, the dose makes the poison, right? So it's moderation that you want to be careful of. So timing in the day and the moderation. So really 3 to 4 cups a day should be more, a good kind of place to sit. And everybody's going to be different. So always listening to your body. My experience, you might be able to have 8 cups of coffee and be a little bit different. I might, need 3 or 4. I do tend to be a little bit more sensitive to caffeine. So listening to your body for sure. And using tools like L-theanine in moderation as well. You don't want to, taking L-theanine isn't permission to have 10 cups of coffee a day. That's really not going to kind of balance out that way. But so yeah, moderation being key, consuming most of it kind of in those morning hours for sure. We may not realize this, it's actually excellent for gut health. You are, depending on the way that you're consuming the coffee, you are getting small amounts of fiber that are really excellent for gut health. So this, for example, so this is a decaf that I'm holding, but there is a caffeinated version as well. This is a freeze-dried instant coffee, and even more of that fiber is kind of retained with freeze-dried instant coffee. It just kind of remains because you're not filtering it through a paper filter and kind of removing that. So even a little bit more fiber and gut health benefits if you're actually doing especially the freeze-dried coffee. And this still does retain, same caffeine benefits, same antioxidant benefits, all of that good stuff. Specifically for the freeze-dried instant, I'm not truthfully as familiar with the other instant coffee methods, but the freeze-dried would be the better method to consume. So that's a really neat benefit as well. Again, a theme, gut health. Like, I love to hear that my coffee is supporting gut health. Mm-hmm. The other thing to keep in mind is the way that you're preparing your coffee as well. So paper filters really do seem to be the best kind of method of preparation. You're losing a little bit of that fiber, but it's also filtering out certain fatty acids that actually take away from a lot of the coffee benefits. So certain coffee preparation methods where you're like maybe boiling coffee, really you get those fatty acids in there which can interrupt some of those benefits. So ideally using a paper filter and keeping in mind, are you running it through? So maybe you're using a paper filter in your coffee machine, but is it all plastic that's running through that? So those are some things to keep in mind, is reducing your kind of microplastic risk as well. Ideal option might be like a kind of those Chemex pour overs, which are all in glass with a paper filter on top of that. Lots of different options, but just a couple of things to keep in mind is using that paper filter, but also being mindful that you're not running hot water through plastic. Cold brew is also an excellent preparation method as well, that you can still run that through a paper filter once you brewed it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So it's not just about how like you're consuming it, it's about how you're brewing it and everything. And there's a lot that goes into it.
There's a lot that goes into it. And not to dissuade anybody, I also am very adamant that your morning ritual is super important, whatever that looks like. And for me, it's usually some sort of a hot drink. So don't let the noise totally disrupt your morning ritual. That's really kind of important to ground yourself before you start your day. And if all of this noise kind of becomes overwhelming, just building these things in over time. Maybe the next time you're buying a coffee machine, you're being mindful of the plastic, or the next time you're buying a bag of coffee, kind of you're being mindful that it's maybe organic and fair trade coffee. So building these things in over time, not kind of panicking and getting rid of everything that you have and starting fresh.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So tell me about like green tea and stuff like that and how that can help us.
Yeah. So a lot of similar benefits with your green tea and your matcha specifically, containing that amino acid L-theanine. So that's already built in there, which is really nice. So really reduces those jitters. Green tea and matcha also contain a compound called EGCG or ECGC. I always mix that up, but that compound, you can actually find it in supplement form as well. Really great for metabolism, an excellent antioxidant. So that's another major benefit of consuming your green tea and your matcha specifically.
So like everyone adds stuff to their coffee, like sugar, cream. How does that stuff affect your coffee?
Yeah. So again, keeping in mind that coffee ritual is important. So drink your coffee how you enjoy your coffee. Mm-hmm. But you do reduce some of the benefits of your coffee when you're adding creamer. So the casein, the protein that you find in dairy, can take away from some of those benefits. Not completely, just kind of really reducing and also slowing maybe that cognitive boost that you're going to get when you're adding in that protein specifically. So ideally, maybe you're doing like a small amount of plant-based milk. But again, your ritual is your ritual. Enjoy your coffee in the morning how you enjoy it.
So when you're preparing your tea, because we know that preparing your coffee, there's a lot that goes into that. What about preparing your tea?
Yeah, so that's something you want to be mindful as well. So you don't want to steep it at too high of a temperature, and you don't want to steep it for too long as well. So each different tea is going to have kind of different guidelines around that. So just kind of looking into that, but being mindful, you don't usually want like boiling water over your tea. And again, you don't want to steep it for too long as well. So again, it really depends. We could also do a whole other episode on herbal teas. So that's a whole other kind of section as well. But really talking about more of that green tea and black tea, definitely being mindful of length of steeping and temperature as well.
Absolutely. Okay. And there's also matcha. So what is matcha?
Yes. Yeah. So matcha is like a finely ground green tea. So you'll find it in like a green powder. And usually you're preparing it by kind of sifting it first because it can be a little bit clumpy, and then whisking it with a little bit of water really to thin it out. And everyone likes their matcha different. So you can have it in a latte form. That's kind of my favorite way. But you can also just have it with a little bit of hot water added, kind of as like a black matcha, if you will. So again, with that compound L-theanine in it to help kind of balance the jitters, but also that EGCG, so excellent antioxidant in there too.
Okay, wow, it's very versatile, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. So for someone like me, I don't really like drinking hot drinks. I more prefer cold drinks. So to get caffeine, it's kind of hard to get it that way. So I usually go for energy drinks, but they aren't usually very healthy. So let's talk about, are there healthy alternatives to energy drinks?
Yeah, there definitely is. And we do have some options at the stores for sure for some healthier alternatives. It's not, sometimes what you want to be mindful of with the energy drinks is just the amount of caffeine in there, but also the other kind of additives that are in there. So whether it's high in sugar, a lot of times there's lots of different herbs added that can be quite stimulating. So really just kind of paying attention to that. But there are better alternatives. So Wake Water is a really awesome option. So it's got, I think it's about 80 milligrams of caffeine, and you've got it in little sachets with powders that you can mix in water. But then you've also got it in like ready to drink cans as well. And it's got that caffeine in there, but it's got the L-theanine they've thrown in there for you too. They're really, really a nice way to do it. And there's some other options. Zevia has some energy drinks as well. So that's a really nice low sugar option of an energy drink. So check those out for sure. We've tried to kind of pick through and provide some really healthy options of those. Yeah. For sure.
Well, that's a lot of great information. And, for all the coffee drinkers out there, this is definitely, you want to keep that information tight because, it's very, very interesting to learn all about that. But we'll be back with another episode soon. Thank you, Rebecca, for telling us all about that. Yeah. And thanks for watching.